I've got the lovely Andy Batsford here. Andy Batsford's portfolio is sport and leisure.
Sport, leisure and health, yeah.
Thank you. Sport, leisure and health. We're here to talk about the pilot field, Tilekiln, Horntyne, lots of things. First of all, hello Andy.
Hiya, how you doing? All right, Chris?
No, not bad at all, sir. First of all, let's talk about it. So, the Tilekiln, is it happening? Is it available? Or is it off the cards?
As far as I'm concerned, the Tilekiln site is off the cards for development. As I said at the meeting about 2 Thursdays ago, every political party in Hastings stood on a manifesto of not developing green spaces and playing fields. So I think, realistically, I think we've all got to stick to those decisions being made. It's not taken in isolation, but we do think that there are other places in the town that could really be used for the club to look at, to develop, and to move forward as a sustainable club. That's the most important thing for me. Is it sustainable in the long term?
Yeah. So just for people that would ask about the Tilekiln, I mean, in terms of financially, it's not sustainable, or is there, because of it being a green space, would it be difficult anyway to get?
Well, I mean, there's
things built.
I mean, there's two. I think there's two things there. There's the business model, and then there's the sort of environmental issues as well. So you've got the business model. So just a little quick timeline really on it. That the whole original plan to build on the Tilekiln site was this: that the club would borrow a sizable amount of money, millions of pounds, and then it would build the stadium and the facilities at Tilekiln first, and then it would come down to once that was built and the club moved over, then they would build the houses, 86 houses on the pilot field site, and the profits from the sale of those houses would then pay back the loan the club took out to build the facilities at Tilekiln. It became very clear very quickly that there wasn't enough money from the sale of the houses to pay for the whole development at Tilekiln. Before COVID, that was around about £2 million worth of deficit. And the club, when I asked the club directors, they said that they had people that would invest in the facilities, which is fair enough to say that. But clearly the council officers who were dealing with the directors and asking for the business plan needed to see something a bit more concrete than my mates will lend me the money. They needed to know where that money was going to come from, how they were going to pay back the repayments and that sort of thing, because obviously the club needs to be sustainable. Post-COVID and post the explosion in the cost of steel and all that sort of stuff, that £2 million deficit, I'm going to guess, is around about £3 to £4 million now. So we've got this situation where we've got a club that is quite rightly pushing for better facilities, but I cannot see a clear and honest business plan about how those facilities are going to be built and how they're going to be sustained in the future. Because, I did ask the directors, is the club going to borrow £2 million, £3 million? The response was, no, the club is not going to borrow that money. So I said, so are the directors going to be borrowing that money? I didn't get a straight answer. Somebody is going to have to borrow a serious amount of money, because the selling of the houses on the pilot field will not pay for the facilities. So that's the number one biggest problem with this project at the moment, the big black hole of £2 to £3 million worth of money. The second part is that the people that live around the pilot fields are not very keen on 86 new houses being built on that site. They've got massive issues around the flooding, about the infrastructure around there, the impact on cars and travelling around there, but mainly around the fact that they're already being flooded out of their houses with raw sewage because the system around there just can't cope already. Plus you've got Tilekiln site, which is well used by clubs already. I mean, most of us with our kids and everything have played our summer training sessions up on the Tilekiln site. Dog walkers love working up there. It's a free and open space to lots of people that live up in Hollington, which is one of my most deprived areas in the town. Even if the club, and in their latest plans, very kindly showed a dog walking route around the outside of the infrastructure for Tilekiln. Yeah, that is not having a big open space like it is at the moment. That is just sort of almost playing, giving a little bit to somebody just to say that you can walk your dog still. So, yeah, there's problems on both sides, ecologically and, if you like, local people being against those developments happening. But the biggest one for me, and as a local councillor and somebody who's in charge in some directly with the council finances and is that business plan just does not stack up, and there has never been a business plan signed off by the council, and that's why the heads of terms have never been signed off by the council or the club, and that's where the Tilekiln site development sort of stands and falls, really, in my view. Yeah.
So just so for fans that are listening, like when you say terms of service and things like that, so it's that they haven't signed off to guarantee that this money is coming from somewhere. Yeah,
that's right. So the heads of terms can be lots of things. I mean, when you buy a bit of land or you look to develop something, you always have a heads of terms between the two parties.
Oh, right,
yeah. So the heads of terms will have various bits and pieces in the agreement: a business plan, a community strategy, and so use of the land, open spaces, all those sort of things that are in the heads of terms. And if one of the parties aren't happy with any of those bits and pieces, they just will not sign the heads of terms. So you can't move forward. When the directors came forward and said, we're going to put a planning application in, that's when the officers and the political part of the council said, don't put a planning application in. We haven't got heads of terms signed off. You could, it'd be totally at your own risk. And they're the conversations that will come out, in the report. Basically, the report will show that at no point was there any encouragement to put a planning application in to the club from the council.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so we're looking at other options. Obviously, the area itself is screaming out for facilities, and that's obviously the biggest point. We've got tons of obviously young people playing football, loads of teams, but also obviously our own first team. We can't play on that pitch. So, in terms of the future, what can the council? I know maybe not put it in black and white, but what can they be doing? What can they be providing?
No, there is a massive need for sporting facilities in the town, full stop. I mean, I'm just working on at the moment on the levelling up bid that the government have given us some money for, bringing forward a plan for a new leisure centre in the town. So we've got a new leisure centre being put forward because we're in desperate need of facilities. We're very aware, and the playing pitch strategy, which is coming out in the new year, which is the Hastings and Rother playing pitch strategy, will show that there's a gap of around about 1 or 2 full-size 3G pitches short for the town. Sunday league football, Saturday league football on grass pitches is sort of slowly diminishing, but the increase in that weekday clubs playing 5-a-side, full-side, is a big increase in football in the town. So we desperately need some new 3G facilities. The council's looking very hard about how we bring them forward at the moment, and we hope to have some announcements in the new year about how we're bringing those facilities forward. But there's also the Football Foundation money out there. The Football Foundation are desperate to invest in Hastings in grassroots football. The playing pitch strategy is an important document that will allow us to access that money. And what
does the Football Foundation do, though? What does it do?
My understanding is that is sort of money downloaded from the sort of big clubs at the top and down into the Football Foundation to look at grassroots football, and they're very much focused on improving playing surfaces. That's their big focus. This is why we've been asking the officers to meet up with the directors to look at pilot fields, because if the Tilekiln site is off the agenda, then is the pilot fields a possible place to redevelop and actually have football there sustainably for the future? The Football Foundation are looking desperately to invest money in grassroots football, but the money can only be downloaded through a council body. So we would like to work with the club walk around the site, understand what the pressures are on the site, and can we look at how we can make the pilot fields more sustainable as a playing surface. Yeah, there are lots of options. Yeah, I've heard people talk about maybe putting a 3G pitch on the pilot fields. Yeah, sacrilege to most of us, but it would, like Eastbourne show, mean that you can then use it every single night for your training, for your academies process, for community use. It suddenly becomes a big business asset that pays for the future of the club. So instead of that pitch sitting there beautifully preserved for the big boy and big girl matches, you can use it every single day, generates income. All that money that's spent on renting out the Rye Rugby Club and various other 3G pitches around the town and outside the town, that money comes into the club. Right? Yeah. So I'm not saying it's the most romantic idea, putting a 3G pitch in the middle of it. And I spoke to Dave Nestling about this many years ago. But it is one option, And of course, then we've got Horntyne as well.
Yeah. Well, let's talk on Horntyne now. As far as I was aware, when I was at that meeting a few weeks back, Horntyne was off the table. So please, if it is it back on the table?
Well, it was really interesting, wasn't it? At that meeting, the directors were very clear. They said that the Horntyne had been sold already. Well. I've had some conversation with Dave Nestling later. Dave Nestling, obviously, everybody knows him as one of the old directors of Hastings United, but now he's heavily involved in the Horntyne Trust. He confirmed to me that they hadn't sold the Horntyne ground. They have got a preferred buyer, but that's pending on planning permission being granted. So the window's open still there.
Okay.
For the club to talk directly to the directors. As well, because and they're very good. They're very close to each other. Dave Nestling still does quite a bit of interesting work for the club, so there's a connection there between the two of them. There's an opportunity to have that real strong conversation. The Hastings, the Horntyne Trust are desperate for a sporting legacy as they move out of the Horntyne site. What would be a better legacy than Hastings United moving in? Lovely new stadium on there, clubhouse already built, 3G pitch on the hockey pitch, car parking facilities already there. It's a no-brainer, really. And from a point of view of a carbon footprint and for reduced costs to develop that site, it's got to be a winner, hasn't it? I mean, you're talking, maybe £700,000 to resurface the 3G pitch there, the hockey pitch into a 3G pitch. You've got the facilities there already in the clubhouse with a few bits of knocking through walls to make them various areas better. And as the director said at that meeting, you can buy seating, the needed 200 seating, for fairly cheap. It seemed to be, and then you've got the ground is encircled, which I believe is one of the statutory things you need for grading. It's actually, it's got fenced off. So, Horntyne to me looks like the perfect fit for both the Horntyne Trust to have a sporting legacy and the club if they desperately need to move out of Pilot Fields to find a new home. But, it's down to the directors to be flexible, to have a conversation with the Horntyne Trust, and for, dare I say it, profit not to always be the biggest motive. Sustainability of the club staying in Hastings, the club growing is the most important thing for the town and for the council and for the supporters.
Okay. I mean, I want to ask you, obviously, we've had the announcement that the Hastings are going to go to Eastbourne Borough and they've got an agreement and they signed that off apparently 4 or 5 months ago. I mean, what's the council's view on it?
The council hasn't got really, my personal view is, as a Hastings United support and go to the matches, that you can't, if the directors decide to take the club, Hastings United, to Eastbourne, then it almost ceases to be Hastings United. It sort of becomes the Peter Sherlock and Darren United. The council can't stop them taking their brand, their shop front, and playing their first team matches somewhere else. But as we said at the meeting, are we really talking about putting minibuses on? Talking about losing massive amounts of attendance? Ripping the club that they've built beautifully in that area. Billy Wood's done an incredible job to build that community, and the attendances are fantastic across the board. Are we really saying that despite the face of the council, where we're going to move the club that we love from Hastings to Eastbourne. You know, as one of the people said at the meeting, it will be the death knell of the club as it stands at the moment if they move it to Eastbourne. So, yeah, I am openly calling the directors to not take that threat off the table. Sit down, work with the officers to look at pilot fields as it is, or have those conversations with the Horntyne Trust about staying in Hastings and developing a site that is not only sustainable, but also one that doesn't impact on green spaces that are out there at the moment. So, you know, there are some big decisions that the directors need to make in the next couple of months. Yeah, do they pursue going down this sort of attacking the council and being blind to a plan B or C, or can they sort of row back and actually put the club front and focus in their mind rather than their pride and their £200,000 that they spent riskily on a planning application?
Okay, well, thanks so much for that, Andy Batsford. Cheers, mate.